Welcome to the explainer. So, we're getting to this point in AI where it's not about finding one single super smart AI anymore. Nope, it's really about building a whole team of specialists. Today, we're going to break down how a new open source framework from AWS called Agent Squad lets you build and manage your very own AI dream team.
All right, let's really get into this. Just imagine for a second. You've got one AI that's a genius at booking travel. Another one is your go-to for tech support. And a third? It knows your product catalog inside and out. I mean, they're all amazing at what they do, but how do you make them play nice together?
And that right there is the million-dollar question. I mean, what happens when a user asks something complicated, something that needs knowledge from a couple of different areas? Who's supposed to answer that? You could end up with your AIs just getting their wires crossed. Or even worse, the user gets stuck in this endless, frustrating loop, getting bounced from one specialist to another. Well, this exact challenge actually has a name. We call it the AI team-up problem. It's really the big hurdle we have to get over. How do you make all these different AI brains cooperate to give a user one smooth, coherent experience? Okay, so how do you crack this team-up problem? Well, AWS has come up with a really interesting answer. And the best part? It's open source. So let's meet the Agent Squad.
Think of it like the conductor of an AI orchestra, or maybe the manager of a pro sports team. It's not playing the game itself, it's the brains behind the whole operation. It listens to what a user asks, and then it intelligently figures out, okay, who on my team is the absolute best person for this job, and sends the task their way.
Now, Agent Squad is way more than just a simple traffic cop for your AIs. It's got some seriously powerful stuff going on. Take this one, Unified Conversation Context Management. What that really means is it remembers everything you've talked about, so you don't have to repeat yourself even when it's switching between different agents behind the scenes. And check this out, it's built for universal deployment. That means you're not locked in. You can run this whole setup basically anywhere you want, from the AWS cloud right down to your own local computer for maximum privacy. So how does this AI manager actually pull all this off? It's not just magic, it's a really clever step-by-step process. Let's peel back the layers and see how a request gets handled from the moment you hit send. Okay, so when you ask something, your query goes on this really clear 6-step journey. First, it comes in. Then a large language model, an LLM, jumps in to figure out what you really want. Based on that, the system picks the perfect specialist for the job and sends the request over. Once the agent gives its answer, the whole chat is saved. Why? So the system has all that context ready for your very next question. Right at the very heart of all this is what's called the orchestrator. And that conductor analogy from before, that's exactly what this is. It's the central piece that makes sure everything from understanding the input to getting that final response just works together seamlessly. Next up, you've got the classifier. You can think of this part like a super intelligent receptionist. It listens carefully to what the user is asking, it understands the intent behind the words, and then it instantly knows exactly which specialist on the team to route that call to. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you have the agents. These are your specialists, your dream team. Each one is its own little powerhouse of logic, just waiting to be called into action by the orchestrator. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where the actual work gets done. And you won't believe how flexible this framework is when it comes to who can be on your team. You can pull in heavy hitters from Amazon Bedrock or use structured chatbots from Amazon Lex. You can even use custom business logic running in an AWS Lambda function. Heck, it even plays nice with OpenAI models. And if you really want to, you can just build your own custom agents from the ground up. Okay, so that's all the theory, but what can you actually build with something like this? The sky's pretty much the limit, so let's check out a few real-world examples to get the ideas flowing. I mean, look at the range here. You could build a really slick e-commerce chatbot, right? One agent handles all the order questions, another one knows everything about the products. Or you could create an API agent that's constantly pulling live stock market data. You could even use a local model with something called a llama for situations where privacy is absolutely key. The versatility is just awesome. All right, let's get down to the bottom line. If you're thinking about building something with Agent Squad, I'm sure there's one big question on your mind. What's this going to cost me? And this is a really important distinction to make. The Agent Squad framework itself, it's totally free, open source. You only pay for what you actually use. The costs come from the AWS services that your agents are running on. So, you pay per token when you call Amazon Bedrock, or you pay for the compute time on your Lambda functions. It's a pure pay-as-you-go model.
So all of this leaves us with a pretty big final thought to chew on. We're kind of realizing that one single all-knowing AI, maybe that's not the future. Maybe the future is actually armies of these highly specialized agents. And if that's where we're headed, does that mean every complex app out there is eventually going to need its own agent squad, its own conductor to make sense of all that intelligence? It's a really fascinating question, and it could change how we think about building smart software from now on.